The night I realized I was the other woman in my own marriage. If you had asked me 5 years ago whether I trusted my husband, I would have laughed. Not because the question was silly, but because it felt unnecessary. Trust wasn't something I thought about. It was just there. Like the air in our kitchen every Sunday morning when Mark made pancakes. Like the dent in the couch where he always sat. Like the way he reached for my hand in crowded places without even looking. We'd been married for 12 years, 2 kids, a mortgage in the suburbs, joint Amazon account, shared Netflix profile. Normal, stable, safe. At least, that's what I thought. It didn't start with lipstick on a collar. It started with silence. You know that kind of silence? The kind that isn't loud, but it's heavier than noise. Mark used to come home and talk about everything: traffic, his boss, the weird guy in accounting, politics, gas prices, fantasy football. Then, one day, he stopped. Not all at once, just slowly, like someone turning down the volume one notch at a time. The first real moment I noticed something was on a Thursday. I remember because Thursdays were our leftover night. I was reheating lasagna when his phone lit up on the counter. He was in the shower. The notification wasn't hidden. It just said, "Can't stop thinking about last night. Heart." No name, just a number. My heart didn't race, it didn't break, it just paused, like it skipped a beat and forgot how to restart. I told myself it was nothing, a wrong number, a joke, spam. People don't destroy 12 years over one text, right? When he came downstairs, I asked casually, "Hey, who's texting you about last night?" He didn't freeze, he didn't panic, he smiled. "Oh, that's Jake messing around. We were out watching the game." Jake. Of course, Jake had always been the convenient explanation. I nodded, and that should have been the end of it. But something in his eyes felt rehearsed. If you've ever been betrayed, you know the feeling. It's not proof, it's not logic, it's instinct. And instinct whispers before evidence screams. The next few weeks felt like living with a stranger wearing my husband's face. He started going to the gym at 6 a.m., bought new cologne, changed his phone password, started smiling at his screen, the kind of smile he used to give me when we were dating, that private, soft smile. I told myself I was paranoid, because what kind of wife spies on her husband, but what kind of husband changes overnight? One night, he fell asleep on the couch, phone in his hand, unlocked, and that's when my world shifted. I didn't search for long. I didn't have to. Her name was Emily, not Jake, Emily. There were photos, messages, inside jokes, plans, hotel reservations, and one message that made my stomach drop. It was, "I wish I could wake up next to you every morning." He sent that, not her, him. I didn't scream. I didn't wake him up. I didn't throw the phone. I just sat there, scrolling, reading, feeling something colder than anger. Replacement. I wasn't his wife anymore. I was his responsibility, his routine, his roommate. She was the excitement, the secret, the choice. You know what hurt the most? It wasn't the physical part. It was the emotional migration. He had moved out of our marriage long before I noticed. His laughter, his vulnerability, his late-night thoughts, he had given them to someone else, and I was left with bills and school pickup. The next morning, I made pancakes. Like always. I packed lunches, like always. I kissed him goodbye, like always. And he said, "Love you," like always. But now I knew. Those words had an expiration date. For 2 weeks, I said nothing. I needed to understand something first. Was this a mistake, or was I the only one still married? So I watched, and what I saw broke me quietly. He texted her during our daughter's soccer game, smiled at his phone during dinner, took calls outside for work. He wasn't torn. He wasn't guilty. He was comfortable. That's when I realized I wasn't competing with another woman. I was competing with a version of him that no longer wanted this life. The confrontation didn't happen in a dramatic explosion. It happened on a Tuesday night. Kids asleep, TV off, silence thick between us. I placed his phone on the coffee table, unlocked, open to the messages. He looked at it, then at me, and for the first time in months, he looked scared. I asked, "How long?" He didn't deny it. That hurt more than denial would have. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Half a year of kissing me goodbye. Half a year of sleeping next to me. Do you love her? Silence. And in that silence, I got my answer. He said he didn't mean for it to happen. He said he felt disconnected. He said he didn't want to hurt me. But here's the truth no one tells you about infidelity. It's not one mistake. It's 1,000 small decisions. Every text, every lie, every time they choose someone else. I expected rage. Instead, I felt clarity. I realized something powerful that night. I was begging for crumbs in a marriage where I had once been the feast, and I deserved more than leftovers. Leaving wasn't easy. 12 years don't pack into a suitcase neatly. There were lawyers, tears, questions from the kids, long nights staring at the ceiling. But there was also something else, peace. Because once the illusion shattered, I didn't have to pretend anymore. A year later, I ran into him at the grocery store. He looked older, tired. Emily wasn't with him. I didn't ask. He said, "You look good." And I realized in that moment, I did. Not because I had moved on with someone else, but because I had moved back to myself. Infidelity doesn't just break hearts, it breaks identities. You question your worth, your beauty, your sanity. But here's what I learned. Someone else's betrayal is not proof of your inadequacy. It's proof of their emptiness. If you're listening to this and something feels off in your own relationship, don't ignore your instinct. Don't shrink yourself to keep someone comfortable. And don't stay somewhere you have to compete for basic love. Because love shouldn't feel like auditioning. It should feel like home. The hardest part wasn't losing him. It was accepting that the man I loved existed in memory. But sometimes, losing the wrong person is the only way to find your strength again. And that was the beginning of my real life. If this story felt familiar, you're not alone. And if you've ever had to rebuild yourself after betrayal, you already know the ending of a marriage isn't the end of you. Sometimes it's the first honest chapter you've ever written.